What's up, everyone? Hope everybody's doing well and in good spirits. All right, so this video is unscripted, but I wanted to share with you my experience that I had and convey to you that in this spiritual reality creation, self-improvement, whatever we all call it, journey, there are different levels, and to embrace it all. So let me give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been doing this spiritual reality creation, self-improvement journey for about 13 years now. And about 2 years ago, I turned 50. And turning 50 was a turning point in my life. And during the past 2 years, I was dealing with a lot of internal struggle. I was dealing with strong emotions of doubt, guilt, fear, anger, and thoughts which were telling me, you're too old, you're past your prime, you're, not where you should be. And it was creating, like I said, a lot of suffering inside of me, to the point where I haven't posted a video on this channel in over 2 years. Besides, a couple weeks ago, I made a declaration video saying that moving forward, I'm going to be posting videos. Okay, with that being said, the last couple weeks, I started to do a lot of self-inquiry and asking myself, is my life really over? And I started looking around me. I started watching podcasts and reading, stories on people in their 50s who are crushing it, who are living life to the fullest and enjoying life and healthy, and, all these positives, stories of people in their 50s. And I started to realize, these thoughts and beliefs that I have are not true. Heck, I have a friend who's in his mid-80s, and the man has a zest for life that is just amazing, and she's just inspirational. God bless him. Love that man. And I went even deeper and said, okay, well, is this belief really mine? Or did I learn this belief, And I started to realize, well, I learned some of it from my father. I love my father. He's a wonderful man, but he always had this outlook on life of, you get old and, you get crippled and, you can't do anything. And basically a self-fulfilling prophecy, because that's what he has now in his life. And I also realized that some of that belief was imposed on me through society. Society tells you, oh, when you're 50s, take it easy. You start to slow down physically. You don't want to take chances. When you're 55, in society's eyes, you're considered a senior citizen. All this bullshit, The system, the society, let's just call it the matrix, it's basically set up so that you stay in your place, and it's not set up for you to be the best version of yourself and grow and expand, wants you to stay in line and don't ever question things, well, excuse my French, but fuck society. So many people have done what society told them to do and expected them to do, and they're miserable. They're in jobs that they hate. They are in relationships that aren't fulfilling. They just don't feel fulfilled because they're not, trusting themselves and in their full, and living in the fullness of themselves, So I realized, oh, okay, well, that belief isn't mine, And I started to think, okay, well, what belief can I put in there, put in there and take place of this limiting belief? And I started to tell myself, you're at the perfect age. Because you're in your 50s, you have a lot of life experience. You have wisdom, and you have the skills and knowledge to pursue your goals and dreams. And I just kept telling myself that. I keep telling myself that over and over again. The other thing I started doing in the last couple weeks is doing more, practicing more self-love and forgiveness. I started doing this visualization where I would imagine I was walking down this path in this valley, and there were these hills, and there were daisies and grass that the wind would slowly sway back and forth. Very, very beautiful visualization. And this path that I was walking on was made out of gold bricks, like the Yellow Brick Road from Wizard of Oz. And about 20 feet ahead of me, there was Jesus. And he had his back towards me, walking away from me. And in his right hand, he was holding the hand of a 7-year-old boy. Turns out that boy is me. And as I'm watching them walk away, the little boy turns around and he smiles at me and waves at me. So I begin walking towards them, and eventually I get to be like 2 feet in front of them, and they turn around, and Jesus gently pushes the boy, my 7-year-old self, towards me. And I kneel down and I embrace my 7-year-old self. And excuse me if I get a little emotional, but every time I do this, it's like very, very emotional. And I said, I'm so sorry. I tell him, I'm so sorry. I haven't been there for you. I've been pushing you down and not acknowledging you and allowing you to express yourself and just being there for you. I apologize and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And then I said I tell him from this point on, I promise that I will not push you down and acknowledge you and hear what you have to say. And then I proceed to tell him, moving forward, things might get a little rough, and don't fret. It's just I'm moving forward full speed with what I need to do to move in the directions of my goals and intentions and desires. But always know that I'm here for you. I've got your back, and I love you. And I hug him, embrace him for a couple seconds, and then I let go, and he looks at me and he smiles, and he kind of brushes his hand up against my face. And then he turns around, and I stand up, and Jesus is still looking, facing me, and he looks at me and smiles, and then turns around and proceeds to grab my 7-year-old self's hand and continue walking down the path. And every time I do this, it makes me full of just peace and forgiveness for myself, and forgiveness for not allowing the 7-year-old version of myself to come through. And, I'm learning to be more playful in life and not take things so seriously anymore. Because I realized that I was having a preconceived idea that this isn't how it should have been. And because of that, I was creating suffering and resistance inside of me. I've asked and intended for something. And when you put an intention out there to the world, our mind, our ego wants to control the outcome. And when it sees that things aren't happening the way that it thinks it's supposed to happen, it creates resistance. Sometimes it can even push farther back your intentions or completely push them away, which is what I was doing. I mean, I realized, who am I to question how my dreams and desires and intentions are supposed to come to me? The universe created all of this around us, and it knows exactly how things need to come into my life. And sometimes it might not be what I thought it should be, but it's all a gift. And because of that, it's just, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it's just taken the hard edge off of things. And now when these emotions and feelings arise and thoughts, I allow them to be. I just let go and I accept. And they pass through me. Sometimes they pass through me instantly when I just allow them to be and let go. I don't try to as much anymore use like visualization during feeling these emotions or thoughts, or like positive affirmations, because in the past they worked, but in this moment they don't necessarily work all the time, and they just create resistance and suffering versus just letting go. Obviously, after these unwanted emotions and feelings and thoughts go, I do visualization because it's just more effective, and I've let go of it. There's no resistance in me. So now that I realize, like, this is just part of leveling up, and when these emotions, thoughts, and feelings come inside of me, now I'm like, all right, bring it on. Like, I'm ready to level up. Like, this is a blessing. This isn't a bad thing. Sometimes, yes, it can be very uncomfortable, but that's all right. Be gentle and kind to yourself. All right, so I don't want to make this video any longer than it has been, but I really do hope that you find this of usefulness to you and that it's helped you. And do realize that on this path there are levels to all this, and just accept and allow it to pass through you, and realize that it's all a blessing. And yeah, I look forward to reading your guys' comments in the comments section, and please look forward to more videos from me in the near future. All right, guys, I love you all and I appreciate you all. Till next time, take care. Peace.